In today's You Ask, I Answer, Adam asks, what is customer experience? Is it the same as customer service? No, it's not, but customer service is part of customer experience. Modern customer experience, what we call the discipline of customer experience or customer experience management, is an evolution and emerging of three different ideas. Um, First is a management concept that I think dates back to the 1990s, if not earlier, called the voice of the customer. What does the customer really want? And so in the old system, this was actually someone whose job it was to represent the customer in meetings and things, to speak up on behalf of the customer in product development and things. And it has since evolved to really bringing in the voice of the customer using analytics and big data and artificial intelligence and machine learning now to take what the customer actually says and make it a core part of businesses' decisions. The second aspect or discipline that is in modern customer experiences was originally UX and UI. What is the user experience? What is the user interface that a product or service offers, in particular digitally? So things like website design, navigation, and stuff. And this, of course, has also evolved into design thinking, journey mapping, the process of managing the customer. So everything from what does the customer journey look like, how are the different components integrated so that you're not doing single touch point analysis, but now you're tracking the interactions throughout a customer's experience through from first becoming aware of the company all the way to being a loyal advocate of the company, and then applying design thinking to the customer's interactions at every one of those waypoints in their journey, from what does a website look like, classic UI, UX, to what happens when they walk in a store, how are they greeted, what color shirts are the employees wearing, things like that. You can see a lot of design thinking in the best customer experiences. When you go to, say, the Apple store, there's a clear workflow, there's a clear process. When you go to a fast food restaurant, there's a clear process at work. The third component of customer experience originally was sort of just data in general, and then became big data as big data systems became more prevalent, and now incorporates analytics, AI, machine learning, all the platform pieces that help us understand not only the customer, but everything that they do and all the outcomes that lead up to that sort of sum total customer experience. So in traditional retail, for example, this would have been things like RFM analysis, recency, frequency, and the amount of transactions. What things boost someone's RFM scores. This would include things like net promoter scores and customer satisfaction data. This includes all of the digital and non-digital interactions that a customer has with us, from the moment they click on an ad or watch a video to the moment that they set foot in the store. Where do they walk within a store if it's a brick and mortar store? And then, of course, the business outcomes. How profitable or unprofitable is a customer? How much does that customer cost? Not only in acquisition, but in servicing. Is this customer returning things all the time? We've seen some recent changes behind the scenes in the way companies like Amazon serve customers, where customers that have an abnormally high number of returns are scored differently and treated differently because they are more expensive customers. And then the last part is really the champions and defenders. So within an organization, there are people who are responsible for the overall customer experience strategy, and then you have sort of two groups that are somewhat oppositional. You have the customer champions, again, the people who advocate for the customer, that sort of migrated over from voice of the customer to, because that became much more about data, to the individuals championing for the customer and saying, I think this is a bad experience for the customer. And then you have the defenders, who are the people who advocate on behalf of the employees. Really good example in our Olive Garden case study that we did, where the customers love unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks. The employees hate that dish with a passion because they are, as they say, breadstick slaves. In that instance, you see a champion, advocating for the customer, but there's no defender advocating for the employees. And so you need those two groups to counter each other and find balance to say this is the best experience we can manage while still not harming our employees and our ability to do business in the long term, because obviously talent churn and stuff is an incredibly expensive part of doing business. So all four of these things: people, process, platform, and participation, voice of the customer, design thinking, analytics, AI and big data, and champions and defenders, are what constitutes customer experience. In customer experience management, you need to have all these capabilities put together so that you deliver an optimal outcome to the customer. If you don't have good process, for example, you can have all the people and the champions and stuff you want, but without that process, you're not going to improve the customer experience. If you don't have great data, you're not going to be able to know what you're doing is working. If you don't have voice of the customer and you're not doing qualitative and quantitative data, you're just guessing at what the customer wants instead of actually listening to the customer. And without those champions and defenders, with no participation, customer experience is just an idea on a slide deck somewhere. So you need all four components working together to create customer experience in its modern incarnation. And this will change somewhat over time, but for the most part, the people, the process, the platform, and the participation are relatively timeless. They are relatively straightforward things that indicate this is how we get to a great customer experience. Now, to the question of how is it different than customer service is a subset of customer experience. Customer service, satisfying customers, fixing things that have gone wrong, would use similar things. Voice of the customer is very much the element of service, listening to the customer, listening to what they have to say. Same for design thinking and process. What is the process? What is the experience that a customer has when something goes wrong, and they want remediation? Tracking the data around customer service, and then having people advocating for or against specific customer service processes, procedures, things like that internally at the company. All of that is part of customer experience, but customer experience is much more than that. If you think about the customer journey: awareness, consideration, evaluation, purchase, satisfaction, retention, loyalty, and evangelism. Service really is in that second half, the back half of the journey, where once the customer has purchased something, what is their experience with the company, with the brand? If the experience of owning the thing is terrible, then obviously you're going to have a much bigger problem, and it will seep into stuff like voice of the customer data. But customer experience covers the entire journey from awareness all the way to loyalty. So it's much bigger than just service by itself. But you can't have great customer experience without great service. So great question, Adam. A complex question. This is an entire discipline. Customer experience management is a profession unto itself, and even specializing in pieces of it, such as like voice of the customer. Modern voice of the customer is very different than it used to be, thanks to machine learning. And so there's a lot of opportunity here for companies to build a great customer experience, deliver a great customer experience, and obviously reap the financial rewards of great customer experience if they do it well and have all these pieces in play. So great question. As always, if you have questions, please use the link here in the show notes. Subscribe to the newsletter and the YouTube channel, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. If you want help with your company's data and analytics, visit braintrustinsights.com today and let us know how we can help you.